I hope you enjoy the summary of the drama of Vincenzo. Vincenzo is a young man who is from the Italian Mafia. After his adoptive father died, he decides to travel to Korea for the matter of a building that has gold in it. One of the people working in the International Affairs Service realizes that Vincenzo arrived in Korea and that he is a consigliere of the Italian Mafia. Vincenzo arrives at the building and realizes that he has to tear it down in order to get the gold out, but he runs into the problem that he has to deal with some tenants and a lawyer. He also has the problem that where the gold is, there is a temple where there are 2 monks. Vincenzo receives a document that says that a woman is going to be sent to prison. Then he remembers a trial, where a woman was accused of bad behavior in her job as a housekeeper. They also accused that this woman had abandoned her son in the past. Lawyer Yoo-chan went to visit the lady who was sentenced for allegedly killing someone. The lawyer wants the trial to go on because he knows it was an injustice, but she tells him no. Vincenzo tells Babel's representative that the building will be demolished, but the representative disagrees and tells him that he must accept their offer. Vincenzo talks to the tenants and lets them know that they have to sign a paper so they can destroy the building, and he assures them that they will get their space back in the new building. They kidnap the family of Mr. Cho, who is the current owner of the building, to get him to sign a document allowing them to sell it. He then tells Vincenzo what happened and is hit by a truck. Vincenzo visits him in the hospital and tells him that he is going to fix everything. Some men from the Babel company enter the building to beat up the tenants, but Vincenzo defends them. Yoo-chan explains to Vincenzo that he has a client who was falsely accused of murder and accepted all charges, and also overcame cancer. He tells him that she believes she is being punished for abandoning her son. Then Jae-myung learns that they are going to demolish the building, but she is shocked to find a big party. Of course, Vincenzo had everything set up so that the Babel company wouldn't do it. Apparently, Jae-myung is becoming enchanted with Vincenzo's intelligence. He, who works for the intelligence service, asks the building's chef to let him work with him so he can do his job as an undercover officer and keep an eye on Vincenzo. Vincenzo has just discovered that the Babel company uses a drug that is considered a narcotic, and that this could open a massive distribution of narcotics and drug cartels could emerge. Yoo-chan is remembering that the scientist who escaped told him that the company did a homicidal experiment and that the drug is a narcotic. Vincenzo advises Yoo-chan to drop the case because it is too dangerous. Vincenzo talks to one of Babel's representatives and tells him to make sure they don't collapse the building in the next few months. The representative doesn't want to agree, but Vincenzo gives him some photos and thanks to that they couldn't collapse the building this second time. The Italian asks Yoo-chan if the lady who is sick is better, and Yoo-chan tells him that he already knows that the lady is his mother. Then there was a fire where the other scientists were living. The Babel chairman tells Sung-hyuk and Myung-hee to give a reward to the families. The scientist tells Yoo-chan that he is going to testify at the trial because of everything they did to his classmates. The Babel people found out about it and had him killed. Vincenzo goes for a few beers with Yoo-chan and tells him again that it's too dangerous for him to stay on the case. Then suddenly the two are hit by a truck and Jae-myung, the lawyer's daughter, sees the whole scene. The Italian is in the hospital while Jae-myung says goodbye to her dad. Then his daughter finds out that her dad is being defamed all over the media. The tenants are also very sad about everything that happened. Jae-myung suspects that what happened to her father was not a simple accident and wants to do something about it. Vincenzo wakes up and the two of them are willing to see that the culprits are punished. Vincenzo, for punishment, gives her blood injections in the Babel president's room, but then they want to blame Jae-myung. The officers try to arrest her. Vincenzo finds out and goes to help her. Joo-hyung tells Vincenzo that she will help him get the building if he lets her participate in his plan to destroy Babel's company plans. They go to see the person who drove the truck that killed Joo-hyung's father. They manage to intimidate him and the person confesses who was the one who sent him to do that. The Italian finds some people who are behind the murder, beats them up and does his best to make them talk. Then he scares Myung-hee, who was the person who had the lawyer killed with a truck. Also, Vincenzo together with Joo-hyung set fire to the drug place of Babel Company. Here, it is discovered that the real boss of Babel is the brother and not him, who by the way is Joo-hyung's friend and apparently pretends to be just an employee. Joo-hyung realizes that Babel created another drug by another name which is also very toxic. The assistant, who is really the boss, tells Joo-hyung that he was promoted in the company. The three of them go to lunch and you can see that the two of them don't get along and it's as if they are jealous. Joo-hyung and Vincenzo go to Sung-hyuk and Myung-hee and let them know that they are aware of all the bad things they did and tell them that they must confess. Myung-hee recognizes Vincenzo's voice and remembers that he was the one who threatened her with the truck. Vincenzo and Joo-hyung plan a strategy so they can win at trial. Vincenzo tells the lawyer that after he wins the trial and settles everything, he will leave for Korea quickly. The big day of the trial came and we can see how they drew a lot of attention. Apparently a lot of things happened that day that caused the trial to be suspended, and of course this was planned to get more time. Joo-hyung and Vincenzo are having dinner and he tells her that he needs her to help him get the building back, but she tells him that she should tell him why she needs him so much. Vincenzo confesses to her that it's because there is gold in the building and then she doesn't believe him and starts laughing. The tenants are eating at the restaurant and suddenly a homeless man arrives and tells him that there is gold in the building. The president of Babel confesses to Myung-hee and Sung-hyuk that the real boss is his brother. Myung-hee prepares another evil plan to destroy his enemies. They falsely accused the victim's relatives, and this made them unable to testify at the trial. The trial starts and Joo-hyung surprisingly has a surprise witness and it is Vincenzo Cassano who has a cell phone with some evidence. He also got the wife of the director of the scientists who confessed that her husband is a liar. And thanks to these witnesses they won the case. As a reward Joo-hyung buys Vincenzo some jackets and also gives him a pen with his name on it. Vincenzo told the tenants that he will buy a building for them to move into, but since they already know about the gold they don't want to move in. Joo-hyung is arrested because she allegedly did illegal things. But Vincenzo uses his mob techniques and gets her out of jail. Joo-hyung thanks Vincenzo for getting her out of jail and he tells her that the mob is always repaid for favors and she says she will. Myung-hee goes to a bank president to get him to give a loan to Babel Company. The bank president's father was the one who sexually harassed Vincenzo's mother. Well, apparently he found out that Vincenzo's mother wanted a new trial and offered him money not to do it. Joo-hyung and Vincenzo create a plan for the bank president not to make a contract with Babel, so they find out his weak point. Vincenzo creates a relationship with him to convince him not to sign the contract. The day of signing the contract came, the president didn't sign it, however the mother did, as she also owns the bank. Of course Myung-hee manipulated her with her husband's past. Vincenzo learned that his mother had lung cancer in 1993 and recalls that it was that same year that his mother abandoned him and realized that she did so because she was sick and thought she was going to die. Vincenzo's mother is slowly recovering and Vincenzo is taking care of her. The Italian accompanies Joo-hyung home, then some men come in to beat her up, but he defends her. The Babel president's brother kidnaps the two prosecutors and beats them badly to death because they refuse to follow his instructions. Joo-hyung arrives at Vincenzo's apartment because she is scared and they take some time to eat and relax. The Babel people had the scientific leader and the relatives of the scientists who were burned killed. all this so that they would not talk. Because of this, Vincenzo and Chae-young want to know who the real Babel boss is so they can kill him. Vincenzo catches the cops who want to file the case of the victims. He then realizes that all the deaths are connected to the same person, so they create a plan to provoke the real boss to confess his identity. Junwoo sends Vincenzo to kill him but fails, and Chae-young is very happy to know that he is still alive. Vincenzo kidnaps the 3 men who tried to kill him, and they confess that they killed the victims' families because the boss gave them that order. The Italian and Chae-young have another moment of sharing. She apologized for the hug she gave him in the tunnel and told him that when she did it her heart beat a lot, but she has to make sure if that hug was because she was just worried about him or if it's because she feels something else. Vincenzo visits his mother and she confesses to him that she had a son but had to stay away from him because he was about to die. The Italian is arrested but the undercover officer saves him. The tenants tell Vincenzo that they discovered that there is gold in the building. Vincenzo kidnaps a man who knows information and confesses to him who is the real boss of Babel. He calls Chae-young and tells him that Junwoo is the real boss, which is the name he uses to hide his identity. The Italian goes to the house of the real boss, Han-suk, which is his real name, and tells him that he already knows the whole truth. When he is about to kill him, the cops arrive. They then arrest Vincenzo, but he quickly goes free as it was all a technique so that they could investigate the real Babel boss. Myung-hee tries to manipulate Babel's chemical leader, but he rejects his plan, consequently he is killed. Chae-young and the assistant learn that there is gold in the building and are shocked. Sung-hyuk tells Myung-hee that the guillotine file of the international service doesn't really have the officials, but it was lost and there is chaos because of that. That file has all the information of corruption and wrongdoings of Korean politicians and leaders. Han-seo goes hunting with his brother and takes advantage of that moment to shoot him and thus being the brother dead, as he could be the only owner of Babel. But apparently he didn't kill him, he only wounded him. Myung-hee tells Han-suk that he must present his true identity as the chairman to make him stronger. Han-suk finally reveals his identity in front of Babel's politicians, businessmen and employees. Vincenzo and Mr. Cho entertain the tenants while they go to the vault to take out the gold. Suddenly Mr. Cho threatens Vincenzo with a gun and tells him that he wants only 1 gold bar and then he will leave. Vincenzo realizes that in that ingot is the guillotine file. Then when they found out that the tenants were about to return they closed the vault, but with the artifact that opens the vault. The big day of the conference came where Han-suk shows that he is the real president of Babel. At the big presentation event something very unexpected happened. He is suddenly bathed in blood as everyone sees how furious he is. Vincenzo and Chae-young gather evidence to have all the accomplices of the recent deaths arrested. However, a prosecutor arrives and Han-suk is released. The Italian learns that there is a very important document in the art gallery and makes a plan to be there. The girl who plays piano in the building confesses that she was the one who created the security system for the vault where the gold is. Vincenzo and Chae-young make a plan to get into the gallery, but he needs her to change her clothes, so he buys her new clothes and jewelry. Now the two have to pretend that they are a couple from America, but in that performance they have to get engaged and kiss each other for their supposed engagement. So we can see Vincenzo's face, totally shocked by Chae-young's kiss. They continue with their plan until they find the information they were looking for. Then they are discovered but manage to get out of the place. Myung-hee tells the president of Babel that he discovered that the building contains the guillotine file, and that there is also a lot of gold and recommends that he should kill Vincenzo's mother. Vincenzo visits his mother and they manage to take some pictures and also manage to go out and have some alone time. Then he confesses to her that he is her son and their relationship is mended. Then Han-suk has Vincenzo's mother killed, and when he finds out, he is very angry. Vincenzo takes his mother's murderer to Han-suk's house and kills him and lets him know that he knows he had his mother killed, but he is not going to kill them now because he wants to see them suffer first, but he gives him a preview and shoots him in the ear. When Han-suk was younger, he killed his schoolmates and took their watches and kept them as amulets, so he was a kind of psychopath. That's why he was sent to the United States. Vincenzo gathered all the people who were going to make a deal with Babel, and he killed one of them who had participated in the assassination of Chae-young's father. The Italian is with the brother of Babel's president, and they argue and suddenly he shoots him, but it was all a trick so that Interpol could get a file on corruption. Chae-young files a lawsuit for damages against Babel. Mr. Cho is chased by some men and is taken to the presidential candidate to look for the file in the vault. Myung-hee advises Han-suk to go to jail to be safe. Han-suk is already in jail and Vincenzo visits him. Vincenzo lets him know all the things he will do to him and the suffering he will go through. The presidential candidate goes to the vault along with Mr. Cho and the young hacker girl to take out the gold, but then they realize that the gold is gone. The girl runs away and goes to where Chae-yeon is. One of the men tries to hit Chae-yeon and suddenly Vincenzo comes out and defends her. He then explains to Mr. Cho how he moved the gold from there. Chae-young tells Vincenzo that she figures she's going to leave after fulfilling everything, but for her Vincenzo Cassano is not just a memory. He tells her that he doesn't make promises unless it's for business reasons, but he promises her that he'll be back. Then a new trial begins with a video showing the politicians and executives who are in favor of Babel. Myung-hee and Sung-hyuk realize that their faces were covered in the video because Vincenzo wants to kill them. The tenants see on the news that the Babel Group loses and can no longer build a building because of their criminal acts. Vincenzo visits Han-suk and shows him everything he has done and tells him that after he gets out of jail he will go after him. He tells Chae-young that he doesn't want him to participate in Han-suk's end because the ending will be too cruel. Myung-hee tells the presidential candidate to get Han-suk out of jail so she can take care of Vincenzo, so she prefers to go to jail because Han-suk is the only one who can put an end to him. Myung-hee is in jail and Han-suk gets out of jail. Chae-young gets ready and Vincenzo stares at her and sees her wearing the earrings and necklace he gave her, and she tells him she's going for a lawyer activity and he gets a little jealous. Vincenzo receives a bag full of blood with the same earrings that the lawyer had. Han-suk kidnapped Chae-young and his brother. Vincenzo finds out about the kidnapping and goes after her. Han-suk kills his brother and shoots Chae-young. Then Han-suk runs away and Chae-young tries to recover in the hospital. Vincenzo tucks Chae-young in and she tells him that he is not to blame for anything and asks him to finish the job. He tells her that after he finishes he'll have to leave and she tells him it's okay to leave and to leave quickly and not call her. The Italian gives the copy of the guillotine file to the undercover agent. Han-suk plans to flee to Mexico and tells Myung-hee to leave too, however, the Italian finds both of them. Vincenzo tortures Myung-hee before killing her. He plays music while telling her that her death will be very painful, then she is burned to death. Then Vincenzo starts with the torture of Han-suk. In this case he uses a lance of expiation. It's a weapon they used in Russia and explains to him how the machine works and how his death will be. He thinks about whether he should call Chae-young and prefers to turn off his cell phone. Then he receives all the information so he can leave safely, without first receiving a big hug. Chae-young continues to fight for justice, and it is seen that she is very successful as a lawyer. On the lawyer's desk is a postcard, and then we find out that Vincenzo has been writing to her all this time. Chae-young receives a special invitation to a Korean-Italian international relations venue. Then Vincenzo tells her art and war are best appreciated from a distance, and she is shocked to see him. Vincenzo tells her that he snuck in with the Italians. But he is leaving tomorrow and tells her that he is going to invite her to his island and thanked her for hiding the gold in his house. Chaeyoung tells him that she has missed him a lot and he tells her that he thinks about her since the day he left. She tells him that it's hard to believe and the most expected thing happened. He kisses her passionately. At the end, Vincenzo is with his cigarette lighter in his hand and says, "There is something else I want to tell you under the perspective of a villain. Evil is powerful and amazing." End of this great story. If you liked this video, remember to like and share it with your friends.